She didn't knock. She didn't cry. She just stood there. In the snow, in silence. Like she'd forgotten how to ask for warmth. And he didn't believe in saving strangers. But something in her eyes said she wasn't here to be saved. She was here to remind him of something he'd buried deep. What it means to open a door before it's too late. You're watching UFO Love and Hate, where some stories don't start with invasion, but with a quiet moment on a cold night. The snow fell like silence, slow, steady, and without apology. Axel watched it from the cabin window, hand curled around a mug he hadn't taken a sip from in 10 minutes. The fire crackled low behind him. A storm was moving in. Not a violent one. The kind that stays for days. He liked those. No deliveries. No visitors. Which is why he noticed her. At first, just a shape. A curve of red against the pale wash of trees. Then, a body. A woman. Standing still. Not approaching. Not waving. Just there. The wind shifted and brought her clearer into view. Her skin was pale blue, not frostbitten, but born of another world. Her hair, silver white, was braided loosely down her back, catching flakes of snow like stars falling into orbit. She wore red. Not the synthetic kind common in outpost gear, but something ceremonial, draped and fitted, like it remembered royalty. It didn't belong here. Neither did she. She didn't move. Didn't shiver. Her hands were bare. Her posture straight. Axel stood. He didn't grab a weapon. Didn't put on a coat. He just walked to the door and opened it. The wind spoke first, pushing past him with a hiss, curling smoke from the fire across the room. Then came the quiet weight of her presence. She didn't step forward. He didn't speak. They looked at each other. Long enough for the warmth of the cabin to fight the cold between them. Long enough for him to feel the unease shift not into trust, but into recognition. She didn't ask to come in. He didn't demand to know why she was there. He stepped back. Just one step. And left the door open. She entered like snow, without sound, without disturbance. Just became part of the space. Her boots left no wet trail. Her breath didn't fog. Her eyes, though, moved slowly across the room as if memorizing it. Not for comfort. For context. He motioned to the chair near the fire. She sat, folding her robes carefully beneath her. Still silent. Axel returned to his chair. The mug in his hands had gone cold. He set it down. "Do you need anything?" She blinked once. Slowly. Then looked back at the fire. It wasn't refusal. But it wasn't yes either. The silence stretched, but it didn't press. It filled the space gently, like snow covering ground that didn't ask for it. Axel didn't press. He wasn't that man anymore. Outside, the wind rose again. A soft moan through the beams. A reminder that whatever brought her here, it wasn't done with her yet. He watched her hands. They were folded neatly. No fidgeting. No twitch. Like she had trained her body to be still when stillness was the only safe option. He remembered that kind of quiet. Before the breach. Before peace talks were interrupted by blasts. He wondered how many winter nights she'd stood outside, waiting for a door that didn't open. She looked at him then. Not long. Just a glance. But in it, there was more winter than the landscape outside. Not cold. Just long. She wasn't here to escape the snow. She carried it with her. Axel stood again. Went to the small stove in the corner. Heated water. Dropped in dried roots and let the steam rise. The air filled with a scent of calm. He placed the cup near her. She looked at it. This time, she nodded. Still no words. But he'd heard something. He said again. Let the fire speak. Let the storm gather its breath. And in the quiet of two strangers not asking the wrong questions, something very old and very human settled between them. Not trust, but the beginning of it. The fire never stopped crackling. But it didn't warm her. She sat as she had the night before, silent, still, knees drawn slightly inward, eyes fixed on the shifting orange light like it might say something new. She didn't reach toward the warmth. Didn't stretch her fingers. Didn't move when Axel placed a second mug of root tea near her. He tried not to stare. She didn't seem uncomfortable. She didn't seem anything. Just there. Axel crouched near the woodpile, adding 2 more logs. The fire popped, sparks briefly reaching toward the chimney before dissolving. He watched her from the corner of his eye. Still motionless. I could scan your vitals, make sure you're not hypothermic, he said lightly. She turned slightly. Her lips parted just enough for her voice to pass through. I'm not cold. It wasn't a lie. It wasn't pride. It was a fact. He didn't respond. Just nodded. Returned to the workbench and fiddled with a radio transceiver. The cabin crackled with low static. He adjusted the dial slowly. Old world jazz slipped through the fuzz, a saxophone dragging behind piano chords like reluctant footsteps. He let it play. Then, something happened. A voice joined the song. Not from the radio. From her. Soft. Gentle. In a language the translator on his wrist didn't recognize. The tone wasn't quite melodic, but it had rhythm like a lullaby designed to be remembered rather than understood. Axel didn't move. Barely breathed. Just listened. The song wove through the smoke and firelight like a thread stitched between seconds. A haunting cadence that didn't belong to this place, or maybe any place. Not anymore. When she stopped, the room felt emptier than before she began. He spoke without looking at her. What was that? A burial song, she replied. For stars. He turned slowly. Do you remember where it's from? She nodded. I remember all of it. Axel swallowed. Is that where you're from? Her eyes met his. I'm what's left. He didn't know how to carry the weight of that sentence, so he let silence take it. That night, he dreamed. But it wasn't his. He stood on a cliff made of glass, under 2 suns. Below him, oceans burned red and gold. In his arms was a device he'd never seen but knew how to use. Behind him, a child whispered words in a language he felt, not heard. He woke before dawn, sweating. The cabin was quiet. The fire low. She was still sitting there, head tilted as if listening to something only she could hear. "You gave me a memory," he said. She didn't deny it. "It wasn't a gift," she murmured. "It was a bleed." Axel walked toward her, slower this time. Not cautious. Careful. "I think I've seen your world." She tilted her head slightly. "You saw the part that grieved. Is that why you came?" She didn't answer. He sat across from her, the table between them small and quiet. "I don't need to know everything," he said. "But I think, whatever you are, you didn't come to be alone." "I didn't come to be found either," she whispered. The fire hissed as a log split in half, the weight of it shifting. And for a moment, they both watched it burn, knowing it gave heat to a room one of them couldn't feel and the other didn't need. But neither of them moved away. Not yet. He found it by accident. Axel was repairing the signal amplifier behind the old comms terminal. The screen had been flickering on and off for weeks, ever since the first frost. He dismantled the housing, checked the relay coils, and there it was, a faint pulse. Not from the hardware. From her. He narrowed the scanner. Calibrated again. The pulse didn't match any comms frequency. It wasn't a distress beacon. Wasn't an implant tag. It was encoded. And biological. He turned around slowly. She stood by the window, watching the snow fall like it was a language she used to speak. "I need to ask you something," he said. She didn't move. "There's a signal. From you. It's embedded in your blood." "What is it?" She was silent for a long time. Then, "A treaty." Axel frowned. "A treaty." She turned now. Her expression didn't shift. But her voice carried something like age. A memory of peace. Carved into a living matter. Because words are too easy to erase. He stepped closer. "You carry the entire record. I was its last envoy. And now, I'm its last witness." He stared at her. "Why didn't you send it out?" She looked back to the snow. "Because they hunted it. Not just the message, but the hope it represented. If I send it, they'll find me. Finish what they started." Axel crossed the room. Stopped just short of her. "I can help. I know a route through the back channel old relay towers the satellites don't ping anymore. We could amplify the code, piggyback it off static bursts." She cut in. "Not unkind. Just certain." "Why now?" she asked. "When silence is safer." He paused. The fire cracked behind them. "Because maybe I forgot who I was," he said. "Until you stood there." She studied him then. For the first time, really studied. Like she was measuring what parts of him were built on survival, and which had somehow remained human. "I believed in peace once," she said softly. "You still do?" "No." A pause. Then. "I still remember it." Axel nodded slowly, then reached for the device he'd modified weeks ago, an old frequency injector meant for storm beacons. He held it out. "If you give me the code, I can make them hear it again." She looked down at his hands, but didn't take the device. "If you do this," she said, "you'll be marked. Tracked. I've been forgotten for years. Let them remember me for the right reason." Her gaze didn't soften, but something behind it shifted. She stepped forward, raised her wrist. The biolight beneath her skin shimmered, glowing like constellations locked beneath water. The injector clicked softly as it read the pattern. And for the first time since she arrived, she closed her eyes. "I'm tired of being the last," she whispered. He didn't answer. He didn't need to. Outside, the storm had eased. The silence no longer felt empty. It felt full. Like something long buried had just started breathing again. The snow stopped the next morning. Not faded. Not thinned. Stopped. The silence that followed wasn't peace. It was precision. Too clean. Too still. Like the world had been paused. Axel felt it before he heard it. The hum in the walls. The static press of something airborne. Then the ping, sharp, mechanical, confirming what he already knew. They found her. She was standing by the door before he said a word. Still wrapped in red, the fabric dusted with the last of the storm. Her face was unreadable. Her eyes were not. He walked toward her. Slow. As if speed might undo time. "You can still run," he said. She turned her head slightly. Not a no. Not a yes. Just a pause. "I didn't come to hide," she said. Outside, engines began to whisper through the snow-buried trees. A low, pulsing rhythm. Military hovercrafts. 3, maybe 4. Axel's throat tightened. "I should have stopped you?" "No," she said gently. "You let me finish what no one else would even begin." He wanted to say more. He didn't. Instead, he opened the door. She stepped out into the cold. The world was white again, but the sky above was clear. Bright. Cold light poured over the clearing. It washed over her, made the red brighter. Like a signal. Like a wound. She walked forward. Slow. Deliberate. Just like the first night. Axel stood in the doorway. Watching. Remembering. 3 soldiers appeared from the trees. Their gear matched the signature of Black Ops envoys. Quiet. Clean. Final. She raised her hands. Not high. Not trembling. "I am unarmed," she said. They didn't respond. Just moved closer. "If you erase me," she said, voice calm, "let the message survive." No one shot. They circled her. She closed her eyes. And Axel, from the cabin, understood. She hadn't come to be rescued. She came to be witnessed. To leave truth behind, not survival. The soldiers surrounded her. But they didn't fire. Instead, one of them raised a scanner. The device blinked once. Then twice. The data pulse. They had it now. One of the soldiers glanced toward the cabin. His gaze locked on Axel but said nothing. She opened her eyes. Looked back at Axel. He didn't raise a hand. He didn't speak. But everything in him reached for her. Her lips moved. A whisper. One last breath he'd never hear. Then they turned. And she went with them. The trees swallowed the sound of boots on snow. And the clearing emptied, like nothing had ever happened. But Axel stood there. Long after they were gone. The door still open. Letting the cold in. Letting her absence breathe. They came in the spring. Not soldiers. Not officers. Just 3 researchers in soft jackets and clean boots, carrying too many data pads and not enough understanding. Their voices were polite. Almost reverent. One of them knocked gently on the wooden frame. The door creaked open before they touched the handle. Axel was already sitting by the fire, though it wasn't lit. He didn't look up. Mr. Holt, the youngest asked. You're the one who lived here during the message release. During the event. Axel said nothing. Just nodded once. We're documenting first-hand accounts, another added. For the archive. To preserve what really happened. Still, Axel didn't speak. The silence hung, but not heavy. Just long. Then he moved. Slowly. Carefully. He walked to the corner cabinet and opened the top drawer. From it, he pulled a folded piece of paper, thick and yellowed with time. He handed it to the one closest. They unfolded it. A drawing. Rough, simple. But precise where it mattered. A woman with pale blue skin. A red garment draped around her like memory. Behind her, a cabin. The light inside glowed warm and small. In front of her snow. And her eyes. Looking out. Not at the viewer. Beyond them. She didn't want revenge, Axel said quietly. The words broke the room open. She wanted someone to know she existed. The youngest of them swallowed hard. Was she real? Axel looked out the window. The clearing had grown wild in the years since. The tree line had crept closer. But in the middle still clear. Like the snow remembered. She was more real than anyone who came after her, he said. They sat for a while. No more questions. Finally, one of them stood. Thank you for your time. This will help, a lot. Axel didn't answer. They left. The door closed behind them with a tired breath. Later, when the sky dimmed, Axel walked to the edge of the clearing. He looked out where the soldiers had once stood. Where she had once walked away. Where her footprints had stayed long after she was gone. He took a deep breath. Not of cold. Of memory. She hadn't asked for shelter. She hadn't asked for faith. She hadn't even asked to stay. But she had given him something anyway. A reason to remember. And he did. She didn't come to fight. She didn't beg to stay. She carried the memory of peace. Not for herself. But for a future that kept forgetting. And in the end, she didn't need a monument. Just one person. Who would remember she was here? Some visitors never knock. Some goodbyes don't need words. And some wars end quietly. Not with fire, but with someone finally listening. Thank you for watching. UFO love and hate, human stories from beyond the stars.